Let's watch Scott Jennings torch this panel of liars, and then we'll break it all down. Let's go.
There is inherent violence on the left, and that the government should be seeking out and rooting out these organizations when we have no indication that this shooter acted at the behest of or through the organization of any of these groups. And I think when you start to bleed those two concepts together and create this notion that in this incredibly fraught moment in the wake of this horrific shooting, when you foment the idea that we have to be at each other's throats politically, I think that's a dangerous place to be.
Why did I do it? I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out.
So can I ask you? So
he has
Scott, just explain what you just read.
That is the message that the shooter, Tyler Robinson, sent to his roommate. That is what he said. He also engraved the word, "Hey, fascist, catch," on the bullet. For 10 years, we have heard nothing from the left but that Donald Trump is a fascist, Republicans are Nazis, authoritarians, destroy the Constitution, bloodbath, dictator for a day. And he wrote it on the bullet.
So can I ask you?
And he's been obviously marinating in some kind of information that radicalized him based on what he heard in the air in this country.
So does the shooter who assassinated Melissa Hortman, who was a stated Trump supporter, whose roommate said
Are you
he was
trying to equate these two things?
I'm sorry. Can you let me finish my thought, please?
Please.
We're talking about two people in politics who both...
I'm asking you, does that shooter represent the entirety of the MAGA movement? Of course not. I would never argue that. I don't think you would argue that. So why is it acceptable to use this moment to argue that somebody, a sick individual who committed a horrific crime,
how do you know he's sick?
Is somehow Are you here to argue for his sanity?
I'm here to argue. All I know is what the prosecutor said today. He read very lucid messages from a shooter who was motivated by political hate, who had a plan to get away with it. He did not sound like a deranged person. He sounded like someone who had decided to take it upon himself to rid the world of someone that he hated politically, that he thought that the world would be better off without that. That's different than some deranged lunatic showing up off the street.
His actions were horrific, but to assign the specific hateful, violent, awful actions of somebody on an individual on the right or an individual on the left,
I don't know that you're right about what happened in Minnesota.
The political conversation is incredibly dangerous and irresponsible in this moment.
Well, I think it's dangerous and irresponsible for nobody to take responsibility for 10 years of the use of the language fascism, Nazis, authoritarian, so on and so forth. It's on the bullet, Kasie.
I have seen nothing but Democrats in the wake of this murder saying that it was awful.
You've seen nothing?
I have seen them
literally nothing?
Elected Democrats, I have seen them saying nothing but it was horrific, that they condemn it, that they are sorry for his family, that this is an awful moment in the country. I've seen President Trump do nothing but say it was the Democrats' fault.
Can I just jump in here for a second?
Lulu, yes, go ahead.
I just want to read the words of someone who I think is very wise in the wake of 2019 and the killing in El Paso. He wrote, "We have to stop blaming the politicians we loathe for the vile actions of the deranged, evil people who commit mass shootings." And so what I would say about that is those were wise words then, and they should be wise words now.
I don't disagree with any of that. What I am not happy about is that we have the shooter's words. We know what he put on the bullets. It's very, very clear what happened here. And there is a movement by some people to completely say, well, we have no idea.
Scott,
and we do.
Hold on. We have the floor. You can have the floor back. But here's the thing. I had to really struggle to understand all of the details that were on those bullets. They are internet memes from video games that people way younger than us play. Okay? There is something going on online that is merging with the real world in really strange ways. And I'm interested to know if you have grappled with that. I'm not sure it fits quite neatly. We think about the world in a certain way, right? We came up in our politics in a certain way. And now this kid's age are stewing in something different.
And you wrote something back then about a different shooter where they killed a bunch of Latinos. And you very explicitly in that article for CNN said, I do not believe that we should take the actions of one sick individual who might have acted towards hate and extrapolate that more widely to President Trump. And so I guess my question would be, why should that be different today?
Look, I am only reacting to what I have seen and heard out here for the last 8 years, which is nothing but Democrats and liberal pundits and supposed analysts assigning the word fascist to Republicans from Trump all the way down. I see a shooter who's engraved it on a bullet. I have a shooter who sent a message to his roommate,
Scott,
whatever.
people
I've had enough
that-
of his hatred. I'm only
Scott,
simply suggesting
I
that we
understand that
stop
you're in
looking the
pain.
evidence in the face and saying,
I understand that
gee
you're in
whiz,
pain.
what happened here?
But
We know.
language has been used.
We know.
On all sides. I mean, the person who have, the people who have called President Trump a Nazi was his present vice president and his present secretary of human
Health and Human Services.
Health and
Yeah.
Human Services. So, I mean, language is a problem. There's no question. I think what everyone is reacting to here is the fear that the use of this is going to make it so that you are now targeting people who aren't involved in this at all.
I always pronounce it Latinos. Can someone help me out? Do I have to now say Latinos? Seems a little patronizing. So you guys saw it. Scott lays out the killer's words. The message is not to his roommate, not just his roommate, his lover. The casings engraved with Antifa slogans, trans slogans, even direct hatred for Charlie Kirk. That's not vague. That's not internet culture, Kasie. That's ideology. The radical left ideology that has been allowed to fester in this country and that the left has openly encouraged. Kasie, I stick up for you. I was disappointed. You see how she tried to muddy the waters there, saying, well, young people just talk differently online, as if that just explains away the hate? No, we know exactly what all of these words mean. They mean the left's rhetoric is poisoning minds and producing evil. And every time you try to call it out, you hear the same refrain. It's dangerous to point to one ideology. No, the real danger is pretending we don't know who's fueling this. Because when conservatives lose someone we love, like Charlie Kirk, which someone we love doesn't do it justice. It's a huge understatement. We hold vigils. We pray. We mourn. When the left loses a criminal, they burn the country down. And if you're still trying to argue violence comes from both sides, you're not arguing in good faith. I'm going to try very hard never again to hear some argue about violence from anyone on the left and then say, well, what about this and what about this, and go tit for tat. I'm done with that. If you want to have a conversation, let's stop pretending we don't know who's fueling this violence.